So we are continuing on with chapter 2 today. We're going to do section 2.2. It's all about angle bisectors. Your note starts out with the definition of angle bisector. Angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. All right, so if ray BD bisects angle ABC, then the measure of angle ABD and the measure of angle DBC are half the measure of angle ABC, okay? So the measure of ABC is twice the measure of the two smaller angles. And we'll look at a picture of that in a second because that is a lot, okay? So basically a bisector, just like yesterday with the segments where it cut the segments right in half, the same thing's happening now, but we're looking at angles. So you'll have a larger angle, you'll have a ray that cuts that angle right in half. The smaller two angles are half the size of the larger one. The larger one is twice the size of either of the smaller ones. So if that is 110 degrees, what would ABD be?
Like 85?
What's half of 110?
Oh, 55.
So that would be 55 degrees. And then this little guy over here would be
55.
also 55 degrees. Good. So if you're given the larger angle, you just divide by 2. That's the measure of the smaller angles. Or if you're given the smaller angles, you can just multiply it by 2. That'll give you the larger one. Or just know that they're the same and then add them together. Any questions so far? All right. Please be quiet up front. Thank you. All right. Ray HK bisects angle GHJ. Find the measure of angle. I'm going to trace it real quick so I know what I'm talking about. The measure of angle GHK. So this guy. And then I'm going to find the measure of angle KHJ. Now, do you see, I'm going to erase it just for a second. Do you see this mark right here?
Yeah.
That means the whole thing is 52 degrees. Okay? Only when it has that mark.
So it's 26.
So each of the smaller angles, you are correct, would be 26 degrees. How'd you get 26 degrees?
52 divided by 2.
Good. So if you're looking for the smaller 2 and you're given the larger one, you just divide by 2. Okay? And again, you got to pay attention to the marking. If that little half, like, semicircle thing wasn't there, a little arc mark, then you would assume that's just JHK. But since it's there, it's the whole thing, GHJ. Any questions? All right, next one. This says that ray HK bisects angle GHJ. Find the measure of GHK and KHJ. So again, we're trying to find these smaller guys. Do I know the measure of the whole thing?
90?
It's 90. Yes. This little box means 90. So if the whole thing is 90, I need to divide that by 2. 45 degrees is correct. That's the measure of both of the smaller angles. And what are your questions? All right, here's number 3. Once again, just looking at the diagram, I haven't even read the question. I see this. That means the whole thing is 161. The directions say that ray HK bisects angle GHJ. So angle GHJ, the whole big angle. I'm trying to find GHK and KHG. Sorry, KHJ. I already did KHG. All right, so what do I do to find the measure of the two smaller angles if I'm given the whole thing? Yeah, and what is 161 divided by 2?
80.5.
Good. Questions? All right, number 4 says that ray QS bisects angle PQR. Find the measure of angle SQP and PQR. All right, that's the first half of the question. Now, do you see the little arc marks there? Do you see how it's not one fluid mark? It's not like that. It's like two separate marks. Mm-hmm. Like one's here and one's here. That's showing you that they're congruent. It's not the same as when there's just one. When there's just one, they're trying to draw your attention to the fact that it's the whole angle. Here, they're trying to draw your attention to the fact that the two angles are congruent. So you got to be really pay attention to, is it one mark or is it two separate marks? Here it's two separate marks. All right? So what is the measure of angle SQP? 29. They're the same. Yes, very good. So if one's 29 and one's 29 and I'm looking for the whole thing,
48.
add them together.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yep, you got to carry that one. 58. All right, now a little review from the first chapter. We are supposed to determine if angle PQR is acute, obtuse, right, or straight. So PQR, the big one, 58 degrees.
Acute.
It's acute. It's less than 90, so it's acute. Good. What are your questions? All right, so you've had a few minutes with this one. Did anyone find the measure of angle SQP?
45.
SQP, you can go ahead and trace it. It is 45 degrees. Good. Careful on this one. Once again, it has the little marks on it, but they're not one fluid mark. They're two separate marks, indicating that the angles are congruent, okay? So if you have a 45-degree angle and a 45-degree angle and you put them together to make one big angle, angle PQR, it is a 90-degree angle, and you are correct. That means it is a right angle. How'd everybody do on that one?
So good.
So good. Good. All right, next. Number 6. You guys seem to be getting this, so we can go through this one pretty quickly, I think. Ray QS bisects angle PQR. Find the measure of SQP. So is 60 the whole thing or one of the smaller angles? It's one of the smaller angles. I'm looking for the other smaller angle. So 60. Then I am looking for PQR, so the whole thing, 60 and 60 makes 120. And it is an obtuse angle. Good. You guys are very excited. I love the enthusiasm. Questions?
Hey, teacher, when is our test?
It's right on the board. It's actually written in a different color than the rest of the board, so you know. All right, number 7. This says that ray RQ bisects angle PRS. So this ray bisects the big angle. They want us to find X. So if it's bisected, what do I know about the smaller two angles? They're bisected. What do I know about their measures? They're congruent, and congruent means equal. So the equation I need to solve is 6x plus 1 equals 85. How would I solve such an equation?
It's 14.
Yes, 14 indeed. Now, you can plug it back in if you want to check. If you plug it in right here, you do 6 times 14, which is 84, plus 1, which is 85, so they are congruent. If you plug it back in and they're not congruent, you have made a mistake. Questions?
No questions.
Number 8. Whoa, sorry. Why don't you guys give this one a try?
I remember last year,
All right, find the value for x. Should not take very long. We're doing this quietly.
I got a question, but it's not about the pound. It's about the
We'll get there. All right. You guys seem like you're getting antsy. So what's the equation that you wrote?
43.
Oh, I don't know why it keeps going past this one. What's the equation you wrote?
X plus 12 equals 55. You subtract 12 from both sides. Then you put x equals 42. That's the answer.
How you know that?
Because it's x. You don't divide it by that. You don't talk about that.
Very good. Raise your hand if you have questions. All right, here's number 9. So this one's a little different. What should I do on this one? In what? You haven't written an equation.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, so you're not supposed to climb?
It's 3.
Where can you find the angle first?
I agree that we need to find x by writing an equation, but no one's given me an equation.
9x.
Oh, 9x equals
8x plus
8x plus 3. Good. Once again, we have a bisector. That means that this guy is congruent to this guy. And we are going to make them equal to find the x. What do you do to both sides? Subtract 8x. What is 9x minus 8x?
1x.
1x, and that equals 3. What are your questions?
No questions, teacher.
Last one of this type, what's the equation?
6x minus 3 equals 45.
Good, and if you wanted to do 45 equals 6x minus 3, just because like the 45 is on top, that's fine. You'll just have your x on the right side where we'll have our x on the left side. Should get the same thing. What do I do now?
Add 3 to both sides.
Add 3 to both sides. 6x equals 48. Then what?
You subtract the 3. You divide it.
You divide the...
I'm all fair.
Which one?
What do I do, guys?
Divide by 6.
Divide by 6 and x equals 8. Good. I knew you guys knew it, but no one was saying it. All right, I don't know why, but we just did 1 through 10, and now we magically go to number 7, okay? So, in the kite below, angle DAB, I'm just going to trace it while I'm looking. Angle DAB is bisected by, no, hold on, DAB, so all the way over, is bisected by AC. Angle BCD So now we're on the other side of the kite. BCD is also bisected by that same segment, right? All right, so segment BD bisects AC, so the segments bisect each other. All right, so this angle equals this angle from the first bisector. This angle equals this angle from the second bisector. Now they're saying that these two segments are going to be equal because BD is also being bisected. We want to find the measure of angle DAB, the measure of angle BCD, the length of segment DM, and DB and X. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So we'll just start at the beginning. The measure of DAB. So DAB is up top. It's being bisected. Half of it is 31 degrees.
So it's 62.
So it would be 62 degrees. Good. So again, if it's a bisector, the smaller two angles that are created are congruent, and I can add them together to find the larger angle.
You add 31. It's only half of it.
All right, I also want to find the measure of this angle down here, BCD, but I don't know much about those. I just have two expressions. So what can I do with those expressions?
Make it
Turn it into an equation so we can set them equal to each other. So 4x equals 2x plus 8. And I can solve for x. So I subtract 2x from both sides. I have 2x equals 8. X is going to equal 4. Which that was a question down here, right? X equals 4, okay. Now, is that the measure of angle BCD?
No.
No. You got to plug it back in. Perfect. So I can do 4 times 4 to find that angle. What's 4 times 4?
16.
16.
And 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 8 is 16.
Okay, so if we have a 16-degree angle plus a 16-degree angle, it's what? 32. Good. And if you did not see what we just did, we are trying to find the measure of this whole angle. So I know it's 4x plus 2x plus 8. I could just plug a 4 in for all those x's and solve. Because when I set them equal, I got that x equals 4. I did that part right here. And then I took these x's out and I made them both 4s, and I got 16 and 16. Add those together, you get 32. Shh. Boys, please be quiet. So let me sum it up again in silence while you boys just sit there. Okay? While you men just sit there. All right. These two angles are equal. I made them equal. I found the x. I was asked for the x value. I put that down here. However, I was also asked for the measure of this angle. I don't know the measure of the angle. But now I know that each of these x's can be taken out and the actual value for x can be put back in. So I did 4 times 4, that's 16. 2 times 4 plus 8 is also 16, which is good because they're supposed to be congruent. And 16 and 16 is where I got the 32. Or you could just write an expression. The whole angle is made up of these two smaller angles, 4x plus 2x plus 8, and then replace the x's up there. So you can do it right in the diagram, or you can write your expression off to the side, okay? Now, how am I supposed to find these two? Any ideas? Yeah, I know that this is being bisected as well. So there's actually two ways to go about this. I could write a new equation. 6x minus 1 equals 23.
That's the easiest one to do it.
Solve for x. But what do you get for x?
4.
4. Well, I already knew that, right?
Yes, you did.
In the same problem, each x should be the same thing. So, I mean, if you wanted to solve for x again, you can. If not, just start plugging it back in. So to find dm is 6 times x minus 1. So to find the measure of dm, we could do 6 times 4 minus 1, which is 23. And then they asked for dB, so 23 and the 23 that was already there. Good, and that was just 23. So lots of like plugging it in and doing the calculations here. This one takes a while, but it's fun. All right, I will leave that up there in case anyone's still struggling. We can keep talking about it. If not, I'm going to pass out the homework. I'm also going to pass out your test today so you guys can see how you did.
Any problems like that on the